So last night, January 2nd, 2018, I had a dream. And in this dream, I was finishing up an exam and I handed it in, and I was standing with some other ladies who were sitting down. And they told me, I talked to them for a little bit, and then they told me I really needed to go find a seat and sit down. So I went and sat beside a boy that I recall from high school. He was the closest place to sit or beside him, and the row was empty with the exception of him and me. He was sitting on the aisle seat, and I was sitting to his right. And we were in some type of auditorium, and we were watching them set things up on a stage, if you will. And the way he was sitting, this is the important part. First of all, this boy from high school, I recall from almost 40 years ago, I had a crush on him. He was a year ahead of me. He was quiet, shy, and good-looking, which was my type back then. And I've been blessed to have a husband like that as well, so God was looking out for me. So anyway, I went and sat by this boy. I never spoke to him in high school, never had a class with him. He was just somebody I remembered. Pardon me. So we're watching something take place. It wasn't even important. And the way he was sitting was, imagine if you will, because this is the important part of the dream actually. He had both of his elbows, his arms, on the seat behind him, which is kind of like guys sit. They sit and they let their arms hang down, and they're taking up all this space. This is my room, and this is how he was sitting. And I was sitting with my arms totally in front of me, so his right arm was above my left arm, and his hand was right where my upper left arm was, and he just started patting it and kind of rubbing it a little bit, and it just seemed like an intimate gesture from someone who there was love there. And I knew in my mind, and I was just a kid in this dream, kind of like high school, I knew there was potential for something different, but it was just a wonderful feeling. And the next part of this dream, something happened in the stage or area in front of us, and this boy got up to go help. And I knew that he actually had to help move the mannequins, okay? And there was a gentleman way down in the front, and he turned around and looked at me, and he said, "Where did he go?" And I said, "He's the prop guy. He's propping up the mannequin." That was the end of the dream. So I woke up, and I immediately smiled because I knew this dream was from God and that this boy represented Jesus in this dream. And the Holy Spirit reminded me of his name, which I haven't thought of this kid for, 40 whatever years, and his name was Chris. So that means Christopher, and we know Christopher means Christ. And so God was showing me in this dream this intimacy with Christ, even on a very simple gesture. But I'm going to remember that dream for a long time because we don't physically feel Jesus. I don't think many of us do anyway. I don't. I have this knowledge of him. I have a relationship with him. I hear him. I read his word. I sing to him. I see his creation, but there's no physical feeling of him. So he shows me that in this dream, and I believe if you ask him, he will show you in some way what your desire is of him. Now, this particular part is for the men. I know I got an email once from a guy that said, "Why do you always show pictures of women in wedding dresses when you're talking about the bride?" Okay, well, logically, that's the only pictures I can find for the most part, but I empathize with this man because I don't know how men feel being shown that they're the bride of Christ. So in this dream, the way I would like you to connect with that is I'm going to put a link below to a video from Howard Storm. Howard Storm can be found all over YouTube, giving his near-death experience story, which is amazing. It's my top story ever for near-death experience. And the link I'm going to post is the one where about halfway through he starts talking about how Jesus held him and fixed his wounds. And I mean, it is incredible how Howard feels about Jesus now. I've seen him on several videos, and he just says he's my best friend. He's my best friend. And I feel like this is how we and men too can relate to Jesus, rather than a man, woman, physical thing. So I want you guys to see that and know that there is something for you here as well. As far as the interpretation of the dream, I'm turning in my exam. We're done here. We're done with school in Earth. We're done with our training on Earth. We still have to go through the dimensional training and that type of thing. But we are going to, we are the women, the bridesmaids, I guess. We're with them right now, but we'll be leaving them and going to Jesus, because he is the one that is going to fix humanity. He is the prop, and that's very, low words for what Jesus is. He is the creator. But then once we are with him, we will feel that intimacy and know there's great potential there. And I think you can kind of interpret some of this dream by yourself. So I'll just leave you to that. And hopefully this helped you like it's going to surely help me in the days ahead.